This episode is sponsored by Supreme of the UK. Click the link in the description and support the podcast. Quote CFR at the checkout and receive 10% discount on your order.
Good day, good night, or welcome back, CFR Sports. We have a special guest, and I've kept it very local today. Only an hour and a plus away from the old Birmingham. I have the one and only Charlie Leary. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, thank you, and thanks for having me on.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. You had your last outing was spectacular, entertaining. I've been meaning to reach out, so I thought, what a better time. Let you decompress, get back over to a bit more colder climates, and we can
Yeah, a little bit.
yeah, definitely explore your journey. But let's stay in the present currently. What was your experience like going over to Hawaii and that?
Mate, it was a dream come true, really. Everything apart from the result was superb, was absolutely superb. I mean, when I got offered the fight, I'd been offered a couple of fights leading up to it. For what card was it? There was talking about possibly being on the Dublin card. That fell through. Then they got me a fight for the Paris card coming up this week, or next week. And then that one fell through. And then out of the blue, my manager goes, "Oh, we've got some good news and some bad news. Bad news is your fight's fallen through for Paris, but are you able to get a visa?" And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, no record or anything. He's like, "Sweet.
Yeah.
How do you fancy going to Hawaii?" And I was like, yes, please. Yes, please. So everything leading up to the fight was up and down, as it always is in a camp. Do you know what I mean? But it ended up being a catchweight fight. My opponent asked for a catchweight, which actually turned out to be great for me because it meant I actually got to enjoy a bit of Hawaii. Normally, fight week is horrible because it's the final weight cut and all that, and I spend a lot of time just sweating and trying to sleep and not do anything else. But because it was a catchweight, I pretty much got there on weight. I got to enjoy going to the beach, chilling out, eating a little bit, so it was great. Awesome experience, man. Really was. The people over there are superb. That obviously Bellator looked after me. Yancey himself, what an absolute gent he is, man. I mean, absolute honour to fight him. So it was cool. Everything, like I say, apart from the result, was superb.
Yeah, it sounds it. It really sounds it. And obviously, as many of the fighters I've spoken to, generally, I mean, Bellator do look after their fighters. It's
For sure.
There's no crazy incidents and stuff. And to have that, so what was the travel arrangements? Did you fly to mainland America and then a flight across to?
So you know what? It was it's funny. Me and my coach were saying it was the longest Tuesday of my life because I woke up at like 6 o'clock in the morning in England to get to the airport. Got to the airport and then we flew. I think it was about 11 hours to Phoenix. Spent a couple of hours in Phoenix, like transferring and going over. And then we flew, I think it was about almost 7 hours to Hawaii. And we got there and it was still Tuesday, like 6 o'clock Tuesday evening. It was like, oh my, how we traveled for 24 hours and it's still Tuesday. Like, it was weird. But you know what? It was all right because the jet lag and stuff didn't affect me until I actually got home. It was all right going over there. Everything was fine. Got there, slept nicely. Everything was great. When I got home, oh my God, jet lag killed me for a week. It was just really hard.
I guess you was just under high as well. You know, you're mentally and physically preparing for that thing. So jet lag wise,
and when I'm there, I'm getting to go to Waikiki Beach and stuff like that, and it's beautiful sunshine and there's a swimming pool and all that. And then obviously I get back and it's raining and it's cold and it's horrible. Makes a bit of a difference, doesn't it?
It definitely does. But that's when you know when you're heading home. You've come from hot climates and you know everything's nice and bright, and then all of a sudden you start to see the rain hitting the glass and it's like, oh, here we go, we're back in Europe.
Exactly, yeah, that's it.
Fun and games, but as I say, tremendous. Thoroughly enjoyed the whole card. To be fair, the whole card was Bellator do know how to do their optics. I think one thing I will criticize of sorts, and I don't know why they've done this, but obviously they were on BBC iPlayer.
Yes, yeah.
Well, no, they're still on BBC iPlayer.
Still on that, still on the iPlayer, yeah.
there was some crazy deal. Like I had to watch because I couldn't stay up, to watch the fights. It's
Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, it's hard
so I
work,
think
isn't it?
it is. So I was waning, so I thought, okay, yeah, I think got to about like 2:30, 3 o'clock, and I thought, okay, I'll pause it where it is, and I'll catch it when I wake up the next day.
Yeah.
I got there, open up the app, and only the prelims were available. It took me about
Oh,
2 days before I could the main event, like the main card came on.
really? Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, like I say, the last couple I've watched live, so I haven't had to worry about catching the replays or anything. But
yeah,
that must be annoying trying to get them. They're not on
yes.
yet.
Totally, totally. But one thing I will say that the platform, as you know, I play it,
Yeah,
there's generally not much problems
no.
versus obviously looking at, if you want to consume PFL content now,
Yeah.
you've got to download that DAZN app.
Yeah, they're just. I know it's obviously money and stuff like that with companies and things, but I think right now the best thing for people is to get eyes on the sport. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with Bellator, the app's free. You don't
Mhm.
have to pay anything. You can download it, and it doesn't have to be on a certain telly. You don't have to have a certain anything. You can do it on your phone. You can do it on a laptop. You can do it on anything, and just get the iPlayer, and there it is. So I think it's always a good thing to be able to get the eyes on the sport. So
Totally agree, especially with the UK market. I mean, the
exactly, yeah,
model, the model's changing where people are kind of now thinking, oh, all right, then I'm prepared to pay, like going back to the old school days, like
yeah,
9.99 for a pay-per-view. Now, generally, it's like
yeah.
£30 upwards. So
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I
it,
was looking at
it,
the UFC card recently. I had a teammate fighting on it, the London card, and
okay,
it was like okay, so you had to have um, fight pass for
the
the
prelims.
prelims or something, the early prelims. Then you had to have BT Sport for the actual prelims. Then
Yeah.
you had to pay a subscription or a pay per view for the main card
Yes.
for. And it was like, mate, you've had to pay 3 different subscriptions just for
Mhm.
one card.
One.
It's just mental. So I think, and they're not cheap. Like you say, it's not 9.99 anymore. It's like £35 and stuff like that. So
Yeah. With the cost of living crisis, as I say, and as you
yeah, tell
say,
me about it. Yeah,
getting eyes on the sport, which is most important. Obviously,
yeah,
UFC is that, has got the monopoly and people
yes,
still
yeah,
refer to mixed martial arts as UFC. But outside of that, we need to get as many of these casuals who have heard of Conor McGregor, etc.,
exactly. Yeah, they need
to
to be
get,
watching all of
yeah,
these things. Yeah, all of them.
totally. And giving
Yeah,
the access to people. I mean, I totally get it. Some big cards, of course, you want to make it pay-per-view, but
yeah,
make it as
yeah, yeah.
seamless as possible.
Yes, exactly. And the more eyes you can get on it. I mean, we've got especially in the UK, we've got some great fighters, man. Whether it's
Yeah.
for the UFC, whether it's for Bellator, whether it's at
Mhm.
PFL,
Mhm.
we've got great guys the whole way through. So hopefully, the more eyes on it, the more people realise that it's MMA is a whole sport. It's not just the UFC. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can attest to this, I guess, of sorts. I mean,
Mhm.
what is the temperature down in Watford in regards to, the Joe public saying kind of, yo, MMA, I'm feeling it, I'm liking it.
No, it's a strange one, man. It's still quite quiet. Do you know what I mean? Like
Okay.
if you're into the sport, if you're into UFC and stuff like that, obviously, um, you in Watford, it's okay. Everyone knows like our gym and all that sort of thing. But for me, still, a lot of people are UFC or nothing. Do you know what I
Oh,
mean? They
nothing.
don't realize like yeah, there's. Don't get me wrong. There's people that if you know the sport, you know what Bellator is and stuff like that. But there's still
Yeah.
people that you'd say, oh yeah, yeah, like I'm a professional fighter, and they're like, oh right, UFC, and I say, oh no, it's better. Oh, I don't know what it is then. Do you know what I mean? So,
Hmm.
so yeah, it's a little bit quiet still, but it is definitely on its way up.
And trustfully, Bellator can pick up on what they were doing pre-lockdown with all of those European
Yeah,
cards, the Dublin and doing all of that, because
this is it.
we
Yeah,
need it.
I really hope that they can start picking up a few more. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, I'm actually really lucky. Bellator have given me a 2-year visa. Um, So I can now go quite seamlessly over to America and fight on any of the Bellator cards, pretty much as long as they're willing to pay my flights, obviously. But
Yes, and
I'm not
book you
I'm
up.
not sitting there. Yeah, I'm not sitting there waiting for a European card to come around and can I do this one? Can I do that one? Do you know what I mean? So, but I do like the European cards. The London show's always a great show.
Yeah.
And with the thing is, I haven't heard anything, but obviously I fought my debut for them on Bellator 200 at Wembley.
Mhm.
And obviously 300 must be coming up soon. So I haven't heard any plans or anything, but that would be nice to get at London again, wouldn't it? But who knows?
Yeah,
Who knows?
totally. I mean, I can see a path of sorts where Bellator. I mean, Bellator is still a very viable product and brand, and as you
Yeah.
say, as you say, and as I've been saying for so many years, it's not just about the UFC, it's about
No, no.
Bellator, it's about PFL, now,
Yeah.
old World Series of Fighting, it's about one championship, it's about
Exactly. Yeah.
fighters having more than one option. UFC
Yes.
is
Yeah.
excellent. They've got excellent sort of chokehold on the market,
Yeah. Yeah.
branding wise and all that kind of stuff. But again, when we talk about fighter experiences, unless you're top tier,
Yeah.
it's still a very tough road. And don't get it twisted, Bellator, it's still a tough road, but it's
Yeah.
still,
Yeah. Yeah.
at least you're more of an employee versus like a guy, look, come here, you're gonna fight now. This is the
Yeah.
price you're paying.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. Yeah, I've got nothing but good things to say about Bellator. They've treated me really well. They've given me an opportunity to basically fight full time, and it's they pay decent money.
Mhm.
And like I say, I'm fulfilling a dream being
Yeah.
with them. And I think with Bellator, a lot of it is they look for like exciting fights. They want, yes, obviously you want the best fighters, but you want the best fights as well. So
Mm.
it's not always about that on your record and stuff like that. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And I think it's showing because a lot of the top fighters are now fighting for Bellator. I mean, if you look at the champions, man, they'd hold their own in any organization,
Of
not just
course.
Bellator, not just UFC. Like
Yeah.
any organization, they'd hold their own. So
Yeah.
it's cool.
And yeah, and that's the misconception. I mean, that people do think that, outside of the UFC champion and maybe the top 10 or top
Yeah,
15, no organization can hold a candle where, as you say, top five of all our organizations, we're
yeah.
gonna have some interesting matches and interesting
Oh, for sure.
decisions.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
If I was a like an oligarch with access to lots and lots of money,
yeah,
I would on at least on a 2 yearly basis, a biannual basis, have some sort of like MMA sort of Olympics where every
get
single
all of them together.
yeah, and
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
just
yeah,
battle it out. Fresh
yeah,
belts as well. No, like you're fighting for this title. No, you're fighting in this particular,
yeah,
situation. And if you win, you get the whatever championship kind of thing.
yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
we it just needs to happen, man. It needs to
Yeah.
happen rather
See,
than people.
that's another thing that I love about Bellator. They like Scott Coker's willing to put on the champion versus champion. Like they do the thing with Rising and stuff like that, don't they? And he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, okay, let's mix and match. Let's try it out. Do you know what I mean? Where other organisations aren't that happy about it. Do you know what I mean? So
No.
it's listen, it's cool. It is what it
Yeah,
is. People
totally.
obviously people have different business sense and stuff like that. And like you say, UFC have got the market kind of cornered at the moment, but I think it just proves that there's more out there. It doesn't have to be the UFC or nothing. There is other options. Do you know what I mean?
A wide variety. I mean, this week, I guess this weekend wasn't that packed, but at least we had two one events.
Yeah,
We had obviously
yeah,
the DJ and the Adrian, and then we
yeah,
had Aljo and Cejudo. So it's
yeah, yeah,
pretty packed, and sometimes we can get obviously the one event, then we get a Bellator event the
yeah,
same
yeah,
day.
yeah,
We might even get a PFL, and then we've got a
yeah.
USC event. So it's literally 20 plus hours of combat sports for the weekend to digest.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. That's it. That's it. There's a lot flying around now. So it's good. It's great for the sport. Do you know what I mean? When I first started, it was pretty much a UFC was the only thing, and I'd have to stay up until God knows when in the morning to watch it on Bravo or something like that.
Yeah.
Just one event or three events a year, and it was just ridiculous. So
Yes.
at least these days it is more mainstream, and people are actually starting to see it all.
So I'm glad because we've got a lot of fighters who haven't had that experience of
Yeah,
the 2, 3, 4 events a year. Not every single week we've got an event,
that's
which
that's it. Yeah.
which I understand from a business model, and it is getting more eyes, but I think it's on the UFC's part, it's watering down their brand.
Yeah, possibly they're possibly almost oversaturated it, haven't they?
Yeah.
They're putting on too many
Mm,
cards, maybe. But Listen, like I say, I'm not. I mean, Dana and stuff are making absolute mints, aren't they? So maybe they are getting it right. they're earning
They
more money than I am, so maybe they've got it right. But who knows?
yeah,
Yeah, I do feel sometimes like I used to know every fight. I used to like watch all the fights I possibly could. I'd know all the
yeah,
stats. I'd have like this guy, that guy, blah blah. Nowadays, I'll see a card and go, oh, I didn't realize that card was even on, and then look at it
yeah,
and not recognize some of the fighters. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? And be like, oh, hang on, no, I've never seen this guy fight, and he's fought 3 times for the UFC or stuff like that. So it's a little bit oversaturated. But listen, if they're all these people are just being able to make a living out of the sport, then
Yeah.
happy days. You know what I mean? That's the main thing.
This is what it's about: fulfilling dreams and destinies,
Exactly.
inspiring people, and ultimately paying bills and creating legacies where possible.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
when you
Exactly.
put those gloves down in the cage, the circle, the octagon, the
Yeah.
ring, whatever, you want to leave something where people can say, Charlie
Yes.
was exciting. You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
he
Yeah.
may have not been a champion in
Yeah.
particular in X amount of organizations, but when you book Charlie to come and fight, we're gonna be entertaining. He's going through it. There's not gonna be point fighting and playing it
Exactly.
safe and
Exactly. Yeah.
just scraping out a decision victory kind of
No.
thing.
There's a lot to be said about that sort of thing. Like I've not arguments with my dad, but I've had conversations with my dad where he said to me a few times about like, oh, you should be more vocal, you should do this, do that. And it's like, man, I'm not that type of guy. I want to put
Yeah,
on exciting fights and listen, I've got respect for everyone who gets in there, man. Like,
yeah.
don't get me wrong, I've got massive respect for everyone. I'm still gonna try and take your head off. I'm gonna try
Mm,
and knock you out from the word go. Do you know what I mean? But afterwards I will happily help you up, shake your hand. And like I said, I've got massive respect for everyone who gets in and competes at this sort of level and trains this hard and stuff like that. But
yeah,
I'm not excuse me. It's like you say, at the end of the day, I want people to go, Charlie, he was in great fights. Win, lose or draw, he come to fight, he put
mm,
on exciting fights and people want to watch me. You know what I mean? So hopefully that's what I get by the time
yeah.
I retire.
100%, 100%. So going back to when you was on the couch and you wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily like competing, like
Yeah.
who were some of your fighters you kind of like looked up to or kind of thought, yeah, man,
Oh, you know what? Starting off when I was first ever watching, I remember being in the gym and like I used to work in like fitness gyms and stuff like that, and
yes,
talking to the personal trainers. Oh, this guy, that guy. And when I was watching it was Tito Ortiz. You was
yeah,
either a
okay,
Tito Ortiz or a Chuck Liddell fan, and
yeah,
I was
yeah,
a Tito fan to start with. And then it was Matt Hughes was
yeah.
superb. I used to
Mm.
love Matt Hughes. Um,
BJ,
GS who?
BJ Penn,
BJ Penn, obviously. Now, BJ Penn, when I was watching, he beat Hughes and then he disappeared for a while, didn't he? Because they had that argument and stuff. So
yes,
I didn't get to see much of his fight because he went off and didn't do a bit.
yeah,
So I was more of a GSP fan when he come through.
mm.
But one of my favourites and all-time favourites was Robbie Lawler. Man,
Ooh.
when that kid was young, man, his fight against like Tiki and stuff like that.
Mm.
And then he went off to Strike Force, and he went a little bit by the wayside. He was just fighting for the sake of fighting, I think, just to
Yeah,
pay bills, really. And he was
yeah,
a middleweight and all sorts, but he was still an exciting fighter. And then to come back and win the title, I think he's one of my all-time favourites. Was Robbie Lawler.
mm. Good choice, very good
Yeah,
choice. Robbie was again a very entertaining, and as you say, in the
that's it.
early part of his career, he was not to be played with,
Oh, man,
but
he was, yeah.
there was that rejuvenation of his career when he went back to the UFC and got that gold. So
This was it. Yeah, this was it. Listen, the guy was a natural fighter, I think, from a young age, and he was in the UFC from about 18 or whatever it was.
yeah,
I think he just come up against a couple of tough guys. I mean, he fought Diaz, didn't he? Nick Diaz lost to
mm,
Diaz and stuff. And I think, listen, I don't know, but it just seemed to peter out a little bit. And went to, like I say, Strike Force and stuff, went to middleweight, and it was almost like, oh, I'm just going to pay the bills here. And then
yeah,
when it merged and he went back to UFC, I'm really pleased that he dropped back down to welterweight and looked like he really took it seriously, didn't he? And it proved it with the results, with getting the belt and all that sort of thing. And like you say, he's always been a super exciting fighter. It was just
mhm.
nice to see him string it all together and actually get the title as well. Was superb.
100%, sir, 100%. So what was the drive for you to get into fitness and then ultimately to start
Man,
fighting?
so I I always played football. From a young age, I thought I was going to be a professional footballer the whole time I was growing up. But my brother was a good amateur level boxer. So I always watched the boxing and stuff like that and see him training and stuff. But I was playing football and I was like, look, I can't do it. I'm going to be a footballer. I was signed at Watford as a kid. Then I got released. Then I went to Wealdstone. So I done like an academy of football through Wealdstone. I think I signed from them from about 16 till I was about 23, something like that, 23, 24. And I went traveling for a year because I just fell out of love with football in the end. I don't know. It wasn't the sport that I grew up with. I grew up playing a game.
Non-Premier League.
I had like players like Stevie Gerrard and stuff. I used to love guys like that, tough tackling, great on the ball and all that. And then at one point, it just started like you couldn't touch anyone. Do you know what I mean? It almost become a non-contact sport, and I just didn't like the rolling around and the diving and stuff like that. So I was at the time I was working in gym because I was doing the academy of football and stuff like that. I was done like sports science at college, and I got a job in a gym as a fitness instructor. I worked my way through assistant managers and stuff like that, manager of a gym. But it just got a little bit dull. Do you know what I mean? It was the same thing over, and my mates were going traveling, so I went traveling for 9 months and come back and tried to go back to football, didn't really like it, and found a place where they were doing the MMA. I always loved MMA, and then found a place that was actually training and thought I'd give it a go and never looked back. Quit football completely and went, nah, forget it. I'm gonna go fight instead.
I'm gonna learn some additional skills rather than kicking a level
exactly.
ball around.
Exactly, that's it.
So are you still at the same gym?
So I still train with the same people. I haven't changed gyms. I've been with David Lee and Team Crossface since I started about 15 years ago now.
Wow.
So listen, Dave is such a good trainer. He's got the knowledge of all the things that you need. You know what I mean? He's got some striking. He's got great BJJ. His nutritional advice, his strength and conditioning is great. He's really looked after me all the way through my career. There's no need for me to go anywhere else. And he's not the type of guy that will go, oh, you're not allowed to go and train with these guys, and you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that. So, I mean, I go up and I've spar with Leon Edwards and all that sort of thing up at Renegade sometimes.
You come up to Brum. Okay.
Yeah, man. I would come and see them a few times. Obviously, I fought Tim Wilde.
Yes, I remember.
I'd go up and train. I really liked him. We
Tim's cool,
quite well.
Yeah.
Real nice guy. I mean, all them guys up at Renegade are great, man. Such good guys. Really, really good like team and stuff like that. So we'll go and train and spar and stuff like that with other people. We've had like I went and helped out MVP one time over at London Shoot, and a couple of guys from London Shoot have come over to ours for some sparring and stuff like that.
That's good, man.
We do get bits, and because Dave's such a good guy, and he is like got this open door sort of thing. He does. We've got sparring on a Wednesday and a Friday. He says, listen, if anyone wants to come in and spar, they're more than welcome to come down. Like pros and stuff like that want to come down and spar with us, they come down and spar. So we do get training with other guys, but like I say, I've just always been with David Lee and Team Crossface, and I haven't needed to go anywhere else.
That's good. That's good that you can number one have that loyalty and also build that history and that relationship. Most importantly, that relationship between the coach and the fighter. And because I have heard that that especially within this combat sport, oh no, if you're at this gym, you ain't training with nobody else. No.
This is it. No, listen. Everyone's got something to be able to add. Do you know what I mean? You've got to be able to go out and pick little bits and do this and do that with other things. Otherwise, you just get stuck in a hole doing the same things over and over again. You're not improving.
Learning.
You know what I mean? Exactly. You're not learning. You're not improving. You're not seeing how everyone else is doing it. Do you know what I mean? Whereas this way, and this is why I like the fact that Bellator, PFL, UFC, everyone's starting to pick up the English guys now, because it's not like we're all having to fight each other on these smaller shows and just the UK shows anymore, where, all right, like I say, all right, I fought Tim on Bellator, but we're all now fighting for these big organisations. We can help each other out and try and push the whole of the UK MMA
Totally.
to all be fighting on these big shows, all making a living out of it. Do you know what I mean? Make all the gyms in the UK better. So it's cool, man. It's sweet.
It's a great little ecosystem, and with
Yes, yeah.
Rocky, obviously, you know,
Oh,
reigning,
what a legend.
defending, you
Exactly. Yeah,
know,
yeah,
he's really championing and sparking the youth
yeah.
to say, look, you know,
And listen,
there is.
and trust me, man. You just keep an eye on Fabian as well, because he's got
Oh yeah.
Masasi. He's got
Oh, it
Masasi, and then
then
he's got that title shot, man. Now, don't get me wrong. Eblin and Masasi are both superb, but if anyone can beat him, it's Fabian, man. That guy is special. So
he's
it's cool.
definitely special, and I'm glad you're so hyped upon Fabian.
Oh man, big time. Yeah, big time.
Yeah. I'm just a little bit worried. I know he's got the skills, I know he's got the athletic capability, but the experience that Gegard's got,
Oh,
that's my
you know what? This is the only thing that I think. The trouble with Gegard is he can just turn it on because, man, what's he had, like almost 50 fights or something
50
like that.
plus fights, yeah.
Yeah. The experience that guy's got, but Fabian has got all the ability and all the skill to go in there and shut him off completely.
Mm,
But you don't know what Gegard's going to turn up.
I
Do you know what I
know.
mean? Sometimes that guy is different level. But listen, my money would go on Fabian still.
Oh yeah.
And obviously my head and my heart are both saying I hope Fabian does the job.
Yeah.
But yeah, what an opportunity when he was fighting Machida. I was there. I
Oh,
was there at the fights and stuff like that, man. And it was like, yes, he's getting the chance to shine against one of the
yes.
top guys in the world. And how much did he shine, man? It was superb, wasn't it?
It was. It was just a tremendous. Was it a KO or a TKO?
Yeah, KO, man.
KO.
He just caught him with that elbow in the clinch, backed him up, and
Yes.
just cracked him, and put him down. So that was awesome, man. Awesome to be there for that.
He's got the power, as you say, and the skills.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
100% backing Fabian as well. I'm 100%
yeah,
backing
yeah,
Fabian. Now, when we get to Ebelin,
yeah.
he has shown some different
Man,
level
he's
of yeah.
this is it. He's one of these guys. Like I said before, you've got the champions in Bellator that could hold their own in any organization.
Mm,
He's one of them. Do you know what I mean? Him and Amosov at welterweight, man. Amosov's last fight
Amasaf.
was
Ooh,
ridiculous. That guy was just
yes.
on the whole. I was like,
Mm,
and he'd taken like 2 years off and went to fight
exactly.
Russia and all
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And I was like, oh my god, this guy is phenomenal. But like you say, Eblin is really good, man. He's got that all round ability, not just the wrestling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's listen, but if you've got to beat the best to be
Of
a champion,
course.
you know what I mean?
To be the
You don't,
best.
yeah, to win a title in the UFC or in Bellator or in PFL even, you've got to beat some of the best guys in the world. Do you know
Mm,
what I mean? So it's
mm.
always going to be a tough fight.
And let's not forget that gas tank. He's got flipping
Yeah,
an unlimited gas
yeah,
tank, man.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's very different. I mean, aren't Logan Storley and him training partners?
Oh,